Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request. And I know a few people have been asking about this, like frame by frame, Kingpin. Quite a few people in the chat, they've been talking about this film, mentioning this film. Because, well, before I start, if anyone wants to request any type of videos, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. It could be any random thoughts, streams, video game playthrough, review, re-review, reaction, whatever the case, commentary. We'll get to it as soon as I can. So thank you. But yeah, links down below, PayPal, CashApp, if you wish to. That's up to you, of course. Feel free to do so. And before I start, a lot of things that get off my chest with this whole thing. First off, spoilers. Second off, if you like the film, that's fine. I know quite a few people actually like the film. I don't get it, but it's not my job to get it, because we all have differing preferences, differing thoughts, reactions to content. That's fine. Yes, the film flopped. Granted, that doesn't automatically mean it's a bad movie, because I like the second Suicide Squad film with Idris Elba. That film flopped. Dread, I love. That film flopped. But in my eyes, I can see why this film flopped. And I think it deserved to flop. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. And before people go, well, you're just negative, you just don't like... You're right, I think a lot of movies suck nowadays. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be complacent about it. I do think a lot of movies suck nowadays. Do I think every movie does? No. I have reviewed on the channel this year alone. I liked Hard Eyes. I liked Companion. I liked Novocaine. I liked the Looney Tunes film, The Day the Earth Blew Up. Love Hurts with T. Hoi Kwan. Could have been a lot better, but overall, did I mind it? I didn't mind it. Thought it was okay. There's enough I liked about it, but I did have issues. This, I thought, was another routine, run-of-the-mill, forgettable, mediocre as fuck, lame-ass, superhero comic book movie. I am sick and tired of comic book films. I've said that multiple times. I will continue to say that because it's my honest thoughts on it. I'm not chasing a trend. I'm not chasing some kind of whatever the hell I'm supposed to be chasing. I'm just going to be honest, as blunt as can be. Maybe I should have smoked blunts. I've never smoked weed, but maybe I should, and I'll start enjoying these movies. But I'm not going to, because it's not for me. Never been interested. And just with Marvel, DC, whatever the case, I'm just so sick and tired of stuff. Maybe because action film-wise, that's not the kind of action I grew up with. I grew up with The Perfect Weapon and Die Hard and The Taking of Beverly Hills with Ken Wall. I grew up with Jean-Claude Van Damme, early Steven Seagal before he was a fat fuck, Arnold and Sly, Dolph and Chuck Norris, I Come in Peace, Missing in Action, Bloodsport, Hard-Hearted, Out for Justice, Above the Law. Those are the kind of action films I prefer. New films, I like the first 3 John Wick films. I like the first Nobody. We'll see how the sequel pans out. I didn't see Havoc. I was never requested that with Tom Hardy. I didn't see some of the other stuff. Extraction 1 and 2 I liked. Those are more my preference. But are there comic book films I've enjoyed? Yes. Captain America the Winter Soldier, I liked. There's other ones I liked, of course. I could name them, but I'm like 4 minutes in. Let's get into this. I said I can understand why this flopped. Because you have a film that costs $180 million that, quite frankly, I have no idea why it cost that much watching this. There's no reason this should have cost $180 million. By the way it looks, 80 million, maybe. 180 million, fucking highway robbery. What was it about this film that made it cost 180 million? It's not the cast. The cast are not high-name, high-grade people. The action scenes, there's a few of them. But there's, what, a couple fight scenes? There's a chase in the desert. Well, I'll call it desert, but with a limo and some bad guy vehicles, and Bucky comes in on a motorcycle. There's a couple moments where the Thunderbolts fight some people. There's a moment where the Thunderbolts get their asses kicked. I mean, there's not like wall-to-wall ton of action. There really isn't. And it cost $180 million. As of right now, it's made $380 million, give or take. For understand, it would have to make like 420 to 450, 450 million to break even. So it may barely do that. And whatever marketing, I mean, they're going to take a loss on this. It's one of the lower grossing, and I figured that out because who the fuck are the Thunderbolts? Who in the fuck are the Thunderbolts? I vaguely remember the comic, but I think most of those characters are not even in this goddamn movie. So it's not even a proper adaptation of the Thunderbolts. You may have one or two, but it seems like most of them are not even in the movie. And they thought this was going to be their version of the Suicide Squad. I would rather watch the other first Suicide Squad than this movie, and I mean it. And that's a mess too. But I'm serious. If you asked me which I would rather watch, I think both suck. But the one with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and yes, even Jared Leto, and a stupid-ass Joker, that was more interesting to me, as much as it was a shitty film, than this was. This was forgettable and boring. Because at least, like, Will Smith wasn't bad in the movie. That movie has a lot of problems. The second one was a lot better. I thought that was actually a fun, good movie. This, why should I give a fuck about Yelena, the new Black Widow? I barely remember the Black Widow movie. Most people barely remember the Black Widow movie. So why am I supposed to force pew? I don't give a fuck about Yelena. She has one or two good moments, I will admit, much later on in the movie. One with Red Guardian, one with Bob. That's funny that Bob, which I'll get to, I thought was the best part of the movie. What about Bob? He was the best part. But Yelena, for the most part, for a good chunk of the film, was a monotone mumbler, could barely understand half the shit she was saying, monotone, bored, not one of these 80-pound, skinny-ass ladies that could beat the shit out of everybody, no harm, no foul. 80 pounds dripping wet. Why should I give a fuck about Yelena? Again, I barely remember the Black Widow movie, and most people don't either. Red Guardian, once again, David Harbour, honestly at this point I didn't give a rat's ass about him. Stranger Things, I didn't mind the first season, but I think it's an overrated show. Hellboy was awful. I liked Violet Knight, although that could have been better. Red Guardian was just a goof. Except the one moment, real moment he has with Yelena, much later. But he was just a goof. Wyatt Russ was John Walker. They fucking shit on his character. Because, I guess because for a baby, there was a flashback where a baby of his was crying, and he was too busy on the phone or something, and somehow that led to his wife taking her and the baby leaving. And now he's an asshole that when they first sees this civilian Bob, he's like, let's just throw him into the fire. He does do some fighting, but at times he's just the goof. There's a joke after the end credits where they're like, we got something in space. There's an issue with space. And he goes, what are you talking about? We're running out of space? We got so much space here. And then they have to go, outer space. So they made him an idiot. They made him more of a goof, which they do a lot. Hulk, they turned more into a goof. So he was a much better character on that shitty the Falcon Winter Soldier show. Taskmaster, do you remember her, the villain kind in Black Widow? She's in it, I didn't spoil it, she's in it 5 minutes and dies. Ghost, do you remember Ghost, the villain but not really villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp? One of the more forgettable Marvel films? So why am I supposed to give a shit about a team with a girl from a Black Widow movie I barely remember, Red Guardian from a Black Widow movie I barely remember, and nobody else does either, Ghost from a Ant-Man movie that people barely remember, Bucky? Sebastian Stan, you need to kick some ass, take some names with the higher-ups. He pretty much phoned this in, and Bucky doesn't really do anything except that whole scene with the limo and the vehicles behind the limo shooting at it, and he's on a motorcycle. He blows a couple vehicles up. That's really all he does. For the most part, he is completely useless. Ineffective. So he does like nothing. Most of them barely do fucking anything. The goddamn ending is a fucking group hug, therapy session, Dr. Phil style. Even Dr. Phil's mentioned in dialogue. It's a goddamn therapy session at the end of your fucking action movie. Imagine if Die Hard, if John McClane and Hans Gruber was sat down for melted fucking cookies talking about the goddamn issues. Why did you say yippee-ki-yay? Because you're a motherfucker. Why did you call me a motherfucker? And it goes to mental health so deeply. Bullshit, my dick. It's about as deep as a fucking dick in a ditch. Bullshit, my dick. So yeah, the monotone, bored, skinny-ass lady beats up everybody at the first 5 minutes. She's doing this job for Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which, by the way, does anyone even realize who the hell her character, what she's doing in these movies? They keep popping her up and stuff, and yet I still don't know what her deal is. She must be one of the most ineffective ongoing villains I've seen in the longest time. She's not intimidating. She doesn't have a presence. Anytime I look at her, I want to say, no soup for you. No soup for you, Julie. No soup for you. That's what why am I supposed to take her fucking seriously, lady? No soup for you, Julia. Such an ineffective, useless fucking character. Well, she's in some of the TV shows. Yeah, the TV shows I didn't watch. I didn't watch Hawkeye. I watched like one episode of WandaVision. I can imagine if you didn't watch a lot of those shows, you'd be confused to some of this shit. So she is in a lab, does some stuff, leaves, blows it up, because that was her job. Then she gets to this facility, and Wyatt Russell, John Walker, gets there, Taskmaster gets there, and Ghost gets there, and they start fighting each other. I'm like, I don't care. I somewhat care about John Walker, but again, why is this an interesting action film when... Do a lot of people really give a fuck about Ghost? Do a lot of people really give a shit about Yelena? Do people really give a shit about Taskmaster? So if 3 of the 4 participants I don't give a rat's ass about, why do I care about what happens in the scene? And again, it's the same type of moves you would see in Black Widow and these other movies, like the same type of fight scenes. Nothing really that clever. No ingenuity. And then Taskmaster gets killed. Who cares? Not an utter fuck was given. Was that really supposed to be, oh my god, no one gave a shit about Taskmaster? In the comics, okay, I'm talking about the movies. I'm talking about the movie. No one gave a shit about her in the movie. Her dying, who cares? Be like, good. Fuck her. give a shit. And then this guy pops up. He was in one of the tanks. He has amnesia. Bob. Now, this guy, Bob, Lewis Pullman, he was the best part of the movie to me. His acting felt natural. I've seen him in a couple stuff. He was the lead in that Salem's Lot movie, which I was 50-50 on, but I did like him in the movie. And I know he's been in a few other stuff. I liked him as an actor. I think he gave a performance where I could see his... It felt natural. I could see that he has some issues, and he was... Honestly, I wanted his character to win. I thought he becomes the villain, but he's not really a villain. So it's that whole thing that they do so many times nowadays. He's the villain, but he's not really a villain. And I'm talking about like comic book movies, especially Marvel films. How many Marvel films have we seen now where it's a villain, but it's not really a villain? Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange 2, villain, but not really a villain. Even Christian Bale, he's a villain, but look what happened to him and his family. So, Ghost and Ant-Man the Wasp, Taskmaster, but then she was mind control, or like, whatever the fuck happened. It's like, it's a villain, but it's not really a villain. So that's a common trope that they do again and again and again. You have to mix it up a bit. I guess you say they tried to attain, but then we know what happened with Jonathan Majors. So there you go. But I will say, if you're going to do that, Lewis Pullman pulled it off well. And to me, he was the best character in the movie. And again, that's sad that I thought the best character in the movie was the villain. Because I didn't give a shit about the heroes. So the reason they're all fighting each other is they've been sent there at the same time by Julia Louis-Dreyfus to kill each other, because to clean up the evidence, because Julia is ready to get impeached. Like I give a fuck. And then like a good chunk of the movie is them trying to get out of this building, this facility. I was sitting there going, God damn, they're taking a long time with this. Because they're trying to figure out what to do, then they get out of the room before it's incinerated, then like an elevator shaft, and then they gotta stand back to back to back and crawl up the thing, and oh, this guy's gonna sneeze. I'm like, really? This is what the fucking time we're spending it on? And John Walker, first off, they say, aren't you the one that publicly murdered an innocent man? Oh, you mean the terrorist that murdered his partner. See, I didn't know we call those innocent people. I'm just old school. I think if you're a terrorist, blowing up buildings that may have people in them, and then you murder someone, or you're at least an accomplice to murder, you're an accomplice to it, that if you kill that person, apparently that's an innocent person. So terrorists who are accomplice to murders, yeah, the okay, all right. If that's the way people feel, then how come, let's say, someone robs a bank, person's the driver, people get killed in the bank, driver drives the car, get caught, guess what? The driver, he gets the same as the people that pulled the trigger. You'd be like, I didn't kill him. You're still an accomplice. Still give you either the life in prison or give you the chair, lethal injection, whatever, you still death penalty. You do that, but oh, you know, he killed an innocent person. Get the fuck out of here. And then when he sees, like, he was a guy that was willing to help innocent people. He even did it at the end of the fucking show to help. But here's this guy, Bob, which more than likely is a civilian that he's been brought there and tested on and amnesia. And he's like, let's throw him back to the fire. This is after that room's been incinerated. Yeah, time to throw you back to the fire. I'm like, this ain't John Walker. This is not the John Walker that was on the show that I thought was interesting. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but it's not John Walker. So they shit on his character. All the other characters they give a rat's fuck about, except Bob. What about Bob? I like Bob. Bucky, he's bored out of his mind. You could tell Sebastian Stan does not want to be in these movies anymore. You could tell. You could tell. You could tell when he was in that Captain America Brave New World film. You could tell in this movie he does not want to be there. Fine, let him go then. His fucking metal arm was in the goddamn dishwasher. The only thing he does is, oh, by the way, why was he a congressman? But I guess he's not a congressman anymore, but I'm still wondering, like, how the hell did a guy who's a super assassin, granted he was mind controlled, or, you know, brainwashed, say brainwashed, but he was still a super assassin that did stuff. The government obviously knows this now, but yet somehow he was still up the ranks of congressman? Is that how the fuck it works in this world? You could be a super assassin, but hey, you worked with Captain America a few times, so now, yeah, you did. You could work at a fucking McDonald's, fine, but a congressman? But I guess he's not that anymore because he failed at that too, or whatever the hell. The only thing he does is, after the characters, they get out of the facility, Julie Louise and her goons are there. There's a little bit of fighting, more like just Yelena fighting a bit. And they sneak out. Bob's like, I will be the distraction. They didn't tell him to do it. He did it out of his own good heart. He gets shot. The others barely react. Yelena, there's her shot face like, you know, maybe show a little bit of emotion. I guess you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to show actual more emotion, because I guess that's not tough enough. John McClane would show emotion in the first fucking Die Hard when he's talking to walkie-talkie, you know, think he might have to say goodbye when he's talking to Sergeant Al Powell. But people can't, you know, barely show their emotions. Eventually, Yelena does, and again, the one good scene I thought she had. But I guess not here, she can't show it yet. Then you find out Bob, he's been turned into a superhuman being as part of this experiment by Julia. So even though he got shot, he's alive, he goes up, he falls back down, and Julia tries to convince him to be like a hero, which we called Sentry. Meanwhile, David Harbour's Red Guardian comes in with a limo, pits up Ghost, John Walker, and Yelena. They go into a limo. There's these stupid jokes about when they get in a chase, they're chased by some vehicles. He flips the switch, and there's some stupid music playing, and like it was a pimp limo. Stupid fucking jokes that I didn't think were funny. Because every fucking 5 minutes we need a joke. And Bucky comes in, he shoots a couple cars. Now, is the scene alright? Fine, but people make it seem as if it's the second coming of action movies. I'm like, have you ever seen an action film called PM Entertainment from any of them? They have more car flipping in one fucking movie than this movie does. And they had this much of a budget. Go watch Last Man Standing with Jeff Wincott. Go watch Zero Tolerance with Robert Patrick. Go watch Executive Target with Michael Madsen and Roy Scheider. There's more crazy, wild action in those movies than in this fucking movie. And this movie cost $180 million. So no, the action did not impress me. A couple fights, wannabe John Wick fights. And Bucky blows up a couple cars. People act as if they never seen someone blow up a car in an action movie. Trust me, I've seen quite a few action movies. I'll just show you a shitload. But people, oh my god, he blew up 2, 3 cars. This is the really? That's getting people's panties, wet, coming in their jock straps. It's an okay scene, but it's okay. He's on a motorcycle, he shoots, a couple cars blow up. Okay. That's really it that happens. There's nothing to the choreography. It's not like he's got to jump off, he's got to jam his metal arm into this and hit the guy and turn the wheel. He's got to jump to this car, and then he's on the side of the door, he punches the guy and he does this. No, there's no choreography. There's nothing more intricate to that. He has a theme, shoots, blows up, shoots, blows up. On the limo, he shoots, it blows up. Flips over. He tied him up and says, "You're coming with me to talk about Julia Louise because she's being impeached." Then they all figure out that this guy Bob is alive and need to see what's going on with him. And of course, like all these Marvel films, you're always wondering, where's everybody else? Where's everybody else? Where's Falcon? Since he was so goddamn prominent in Captain America Brave New World, and him and Bucky is supposed to be so tight, you think he'd want Falcon here. But no. Too busy with his own shitty movie. They crash in, they fight a little bit for like 30 seconds. They find Julia with Sentry. Sentry goes, or Bob, Sentry goes, "Listen, I don't want to hurt you guys." And then Sentry kicks their ass as if he was like Superman and Neo put together. He used to be fast and flying and strong like Superman. He could stop bullets like Neo. So he kicks their asses. The Thunderbolts. Oh, the reason they're called Thunderbolts is because someone's soccer team. That's why. I doubt that's the way it was in the comics, but the reason they're called Thunderbolts is because Red Guardian, like some soccer team. Was it Yelena's soccer team when she was a kid or something like that? Well, okay. Florence Pugh as Yelena and Red Guardian have one real moment where she says we're losers and she walks away. Red Guardian comes and he's like, I didn't, listen, you're right, I didn't come to you for a year, but I didn't think you want me, but I'm here right now. And she breaks down a bit. It's the one real moment they have. And it's a good moment, I'll give you that. Then Julia tries to screw over Sentry. Sentry kind of splits, and he has another personality, which becomes the Void. Which is an interesting idea. I don't know about him in the comics, but he turns people into shadows. Okay, cool. Cool visual. And they turn to a shadow. Okay, that's actually a neat visual. But it doesn't matter because they're not really dead. They just go to this pocket dimension. And the Thunderbolts are just watching. Which is funny how he doesn't turn the Thunderbolts into shadows. Just everybody else. And also, okay, they do save people. But in like kind of... Like one, Yelena could just ran to this girl, but she has to run the Red Guardian, flip me, and then run to the girl, and then do this. I'm like, by the time you're doing all this, that girl should be dead. That lady should be dead, but... They save a couple people. John Walker saves one from rubble. Ghost saves one. And I'm like, okay... It just looked really off, something about that. Like the way it was like choreographed. Yelena goes to the pocket dimension, and we find out about Bob, and he had a backstory where he was abused. He had an abusive dad, and she says, "I'm sorry you went through that." And then apparently the other Thunderbolts came in, and then they carry Bob, and they go through, like, past the... I did like when John Walker... Or was it Bucky? As John Walker hits the abusive dad and they walk over. And then For some reason, they added this in. I guess this was a memory Bob had. I guess he had a job where he had to wear like a chicken mascot and has a sign and starts swinging on the Thunderbolts, and the Thunderbolts had to fight a guy in a fucking chicken suit. That's your $180 million superhero movie, is a scene where a team is fighting a guy in a fucking chicken suit. Looks like the same chicken suit Tommy Lee Jones had at the beginning of U.S. Marshals. Fried or extra crispy. And then they get to where the Void's at, and the Thunderbolts don't really do anything. They just get trapped, and it's Bob. Bob just fights the Void, punches the shit out of him. They all group hug him, and then everything's fine. Sentry gets no consequences to his actions. Julia Louis-Dreyfus gets away with it because she just goes, "Hey, these are your new Avengers." And then Florence Pugh tells her, "We owe you, Julia." I'm like, how the fuck do you owe her? Or own her, sorry, own her. How the fuck do you own her? She owns you still. And she gets away with it. So the bad guys, they get away with it. There's no consequences. All the people were shadows that get brought back because we can't have, oh, that'd be too serious. It'd be too mean. People dying and all that shit. That'd be too awful for the families. And they're the new Avengers. And by the way, that's why sometimes if you see Thunderbolts, there's an asterisk by it. It's because they want to call the film The New Avengers. And the end credit scene is really the one that matters. Is I guess Falcon is suing Bucky and them for the name Avengers. They're in the Avengers Tower. Red Guardian's like, "We will call ourselves the New Avengers with a Z." Something's in space. They make the stupid joke where John Walker doesn't know what outer space means. We have so much space here. The ship they see is the Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four, that means at the end of that movie, either that world gets destroyed, or that dimension gets destroyed, or something, or they save it. They save it, but they sacrifice themselves, but instead they go to another universe. So maybe that's what happens. They save the world, they save the universe, but they self-sacrifice it. Whatever the case may be. So by the end of that movie, Fantastic Four is going to go into this. To see the Fantastic Four ship. And that'll be for Avengers Doomsday. Which that's going to be the biggest pile of shit. Mark my words. You know what? I should do a separate video about why I feel that way. I don't know. I have a lot of other requests to get to. If anyone wants to send a request for that, feel free. Why do you think Avengers Doomsday will be a pile of shit? Because I do think it'll be a pile of shit. But yeah, I don't get what people's praise with this is. I really don't. I really do not. If you liked it, that's fine. Don't get me, it's not as bad as. That means nothing to me. I get kicked in the shin, I get kicked in the nuts, I get kicked in the face. Shin is not as bad as nuts or face, but that shin hit still hurts. And I want none of them. I don't want to be hit or kicked at all. Do you want to taste a bull's ass, a cat's ass, or a dog's ass? None of them, because I don't want to taste any ass. Because I'm tired of shit. You want to eat that piece of shit or that piece of shit? I don't want any pieces of shit. Okay, I don't eat pieces of shit like breakfast. Like that fucking guy in Happy Gilmore, okay? Like, I'm not Shooter McGavin. It's just, I looked at this film and I go, this is another one of the... I guarantee you, I'm recording this on June 15th, 2025. By June 15th, 2026, not a single soul will remember this movie. Not a single soul will remember this fucking film. Captain America Brave New World I thought was worse. This is just boring. You just say this review's boring? Fine. But at least I did it for, I didn't need $100 million. I did not need $180 million to make something boring. They did. So I think that takes some kind of, talent. I make something that's boring in that movie, but I didn't need $180 million to do it. So at least that give me that. But yeah, the characters I thought sucked, except Bob, Louis Pullman. Yelena, moments she has with Bob, and that one moment she has with Red Guardian was fine. That's later on. Ghost, pretty fucking pointless. I mean, she was a nothing character. John Walker, they made him into a lame character with stupid jokes, and they made him a lot less interesting. Bucky, he phoned it in. He had nothing to do but the action scene with the limo, and he's on a motorcycle, and he gets his ass kicked by the Sentry. That's all he does. So they really shit the bed with his character. I think the actor even kind of admitted to that. Red Guardian, he's a goof. David Harbour's a goof. Don't give a rat's ass about it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, one of the more ineffective ongoing villains we have in the Marvel Universe. She's not as interesting as the films make us think she is. No soup for you. The music, I defy anyone to remember one damn piece of music in this movie. The humor, there's really nothing that funny in the movie. The jokes were lame. The jokes were lousy. The action, nothing in the action scenes was that remarkable. I saw better action in Nobody. And what was Nobody's budget? What was the budget of Nobody? 2021. $16 million. I saw more action, better choreographed action, more clever action in a $16 million movie from a few years ago called Nobody that I did in a $180 million movie. How am I wrong? You say I'm wrong. Well, you didn't say it, but just in case. You're wrong. How am I wrong? How am I wrong? How do you look at Nobody, a $16 million budgeted movie, and this movie, a $180 million movie, and say, oh, Nobody, it has better action. It does. Has more action. Has more intricate action. Has more different types of action. It makes me want to watch Nobody again, honestly. Which maybe I will sometime since the sequel's coming up. But what action was that crazy in this? Is it the worst action? No, but it's not a lot, and I would say it's okay, but it's not that much and not that impressive. The story, the whole shallow attempts at dealing with mental health, shallow. It was shallow attempts at it. And I'm sitting there going, this just fucking balls, man. It was so boring. I would never want to see it again. I guarantee you, if you asked me about this film a year from now, I will go, I don't remember that movie. As in, I don't remember the details. Maybe I'll remember Bob. But that's about it. The New Avengers. If these are the New Avengers, you're shit out of luck, pal. Anyway. Thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you in the next video. I'd rather see Thunderlips as part of the cast. That would have been better. Versus the ultimate meatball. Thunderlips would have been a better fucking member of this team. He really would. If you get what I mean, good on you. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.